we're back at it again here in Austin, Texas for the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. 2 series remain to determine our final quarterfinal of the tournament. I'm your host, Nathanius, joined by In Control and Rapid as we make our way towards another delicious Zerg versus Zerg.
Oh,
In
wow.
Control, I've heard this is literally your favorite thing on planet Earth. Confirm or deny?
Just seeing all those roaches kind of go back and forth, undulating behind their mass damage and just determining these young people's futures. A lot of people get spoiled with how many Zergs we see in these late stages of tournaments, but for me, it's like, wow. The fact that this can happen so many times in a row and then just consistently see all these Zergs just battling it out for thousands of dollars, just what a lucky time we live in.
Well, especially for our spectators, watching as much undulating as possible just seems to be pretty great for me. So really, what better opportunities can you ask for from our round of 16? We've been through many ZvZs today with potentially many more to come.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of those armies moving back and forth across the map. Those roach masses, of course, getting up very close and personal with each other. Don't worry, there is still hope yet. We've got a Terran and a Protoss so far through, and potentially another Terran in the final match after this. But right now, it's a Zerg versus Zerg. And looking at the bracket, we've got Elazer going up against TLO. Elazer, who has had a great year last year, was the only person to win a WCS circuit title other than Neeb in Valencia, and did very well for himself. As I recall, famous commentator once said he was dominating the natural. And he's going up against TLO, who is perhaps the most creative human being to have ever lived.
He's very creative. He's one of the storied players of our scene. He's been a captain of Team Liquid for a while now. He's just kind of a jack of all trades and still competes at a very high level. It's you have to have nothing but respect for Dario and a careful, watchful eye for his skepticism. Co-commentating with him is one of the hardest things you can do.
Oh, yeah. And we got to see some, well, I mean, that was kind of, some of these were some cool plays by Probe, honestly, but he was able to make the most of that. I'm like, these look like Probe highlights.
And then he wins in the end.
TLO still won, but
the life of a Protoss against Zerg.
That's
like,
what
all
happens
these
when
cool
you're
plays, and I'm dead.
yeah, and the Zergs are all battling it out for the money. So, with that being said, we know that TLO is a very good player. He came into this tournament a little bit nervous. I think the first interview we had with him on stage, he's like, please, for the love of God, do not put me in a group with Neeb again. And we didn't. We put him in a group with Serral instead. And he somehow managed to claw his way out of that.
And out of there. It was a tough group, too. It wasn't just Serral. It was a couple of good players in there, and TLO was able to rise above. So this has been kind of a nice tournament in the sense that some of these players who we traditionally are kind of like, wow, this should be an easy pickings for the other guy, and then they kind of win. I think if we're thinking of Mana here. In this case, we look over at Elazer, who is, as Nathaniel said earlier, one of the guys to win a WCS stop last year, and it didn't really stop for him. He hasn't gone on to be like some schmuck. You know, he's still a very good player, one of the best in Europe. So I'm excited because this is my first look at Elazer on this big stage.
Yep, had a great performance at the Global Finals last year at BlizzCon, and looking to get back on that road here today in WCS Austin. So when we compare these two players on paper, Elazer, performance-wise, definitely been doing better with the results, getting that championship. He's the only player that can say he has a WCS championship now other than Neeb and Serral. So I'm very interested to see where this goes, and we're going to dive into this matchup in a little bit as we introduce the players on stage. Smix is there to bring out our foreign contender from last year's BlizzCon.
You are indeed correct, Nathanius. We have a former BlizzCon semifinalist going up against the Wunderwunsch, thirsty to make top 8 here in Austin. Please welcome, it is Elazer and TLO.
We got the chants coming in. The crowd is excited. TLO been a classic fan favorite forever. And Elazer is someone who has been racking up fans. And he suffers from being the second best player, Zerg player in Europe at the moment in terms of the results and the performance of last year, kind of living a bit in Serral's shadow.
Yeah.
But TLO a bit further down. I think that puts him as an underdog in this match. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I think maybe you rewind a few years and TLO is at the peak of his game, just killing everybody in the early phases of StarCraft 2. But since then, a lot of amazing players have really kind of, I don't want to say eclipsed him, but certainly this is a very good performance from him already, making it to the round of 16. And I want to see which TLO comes out. Is his creativity going to be his downfall, or we're going to see TLO-nage all over again?
Yeah, Twitch chat favoring TLO for now, In Control. Can you crunch those numbers for me?
I can. I mean, the chat's got some love for TLO. He is a fan favorite. He's been around for a very long time, but Elazer is the latest hotness. When you look at him, he's a sleek, blonde murder machine. He's been winning a lot of, just been winning globs of money with that Zerg. See it, and I'm kind of
influencing the vote right now.
I'm convincing some people. Check it out.
Twitch chat is a fickle mistress.
Yeah. I mean, In Control is a professional number cruncher, so
that's all I do. Crunch the numbers.
Yeah,
as much as possible. And in fact, when I'm not crunching numbers, it's exactly when I am crunching numbers for a lot of people that don't know. I do have to say, Roddy wanted me to mention this. This match could go the distance, could be very long. We haven't had any 3-2s. We haven't seen any best of go real, to game 5 in a best of 5, but it could go there. Could go short, could go medium. Honestly, it could go anything in between that as well. It could be a long or short series.
I really appreciate that breakdown.
Yeah.
In Control. Making sure that everything's
possible.
Yeah, this it could be 3-0, 3-1, 3-2. We don't know.
It could be a tie, a regame, which technically would be like a 3-2-1 even.
Would you say that would be an even further distance that it could go?
I mean, you can only go the distance. But to your point, metaphysically, I mean, speaking, what? Nate, take it.
What really
take
is
it
distance
away,
at all?
With that being said, it's a Zerg versus Zerg coming up. Of course, the match after this. These guys are playing to see who will go up against the winner between Bly and Special. Do you think either one of these players is particularly strong versus those two?
Elazer here beat Special, but Elazer versus Special at BlizzCon, if you remember that drawing ceremony, they both celebrated, which I thought was really silly, because then Special went on to 3-0 Elazer. So there's a bit of a rivalry between those two, and that happens when you're at the top of your game. So I'm excited for that potential matchup, but what's happened so far in this term is every time I get excited about a future matchup, it doesn't happen because there's an upset. So we'll have to see what happens.
I would say that if you're happy that you're playing against Major, who got top 4 in Leipzig, I don't know if you should really be too happy about that. So, I mean, maybe you feel really comfortable in ZvZ and you want to play Bly, but then it's Bly, right? How can you predict what this guy is going to do?
You're not exactly getting your standard game when you go up against him.
It's going to get weird.
Yeah, as we're just waiting for the players to be ready. We're almost there. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying online. We love hearing your comments and your feedback between Reddit, Twitter, and all that. Make sure you keep them coming. And of course, the crowd here has been great. You guys have been cheering. Awesome. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for coming out. We have a few more matches for you tonight, and then tomorrow we crown a champion. Player that stands head and tall above everyone else, would we say still? Cyril, strong favorite?
Cyril would be the long-horned monster of this tournament.
All right, thank you very much. In Control for crunching those numbers. We've got this next series ready to go. It is TLO versus Elazer. Let's get into it.
Get into it.
Thank you so much, Nate. We are so excited to cover this next series. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined by Rotterdam here at the casting desk, and the game is already getting started. Roddy, any initial thoughts?
Elazer is obviously the favorite on paper, but it seems like the WCS is really feeling it, so this should be a very fun best of 5. I agree with everything that Jeff said. Could go long, could go short, could go either way, it could go in between. Over here on the bottom side of Dreamcatcher, we're looking at the main base of our Polish Protoss representing Clash. It is Elazer.
Going for one of those early pools. But it's spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, playing a little bit more macro-oriented. We have our red Zerg player from Team Liquid. It is TLO.
Gotta love the spirit that TLO always brings to StarCraft 2 tournaments. He has gone to so many of them, and last year was a frustrating year for him. We all know that story. As where is this drone going? Is Mr. Creativity gonna take a hidden base here at the gold while he's going up against the 12 pool?
Wow, Roddy, I am afraid he might be dead.
I mean, it's a gasless opening from Elazer.
But he didn't go for a spawning pool.
I know, it's very rough, but against just slow Zerglings with a couple drones, a little bit of micro. I'm feeling you, Ravi. I'm obviously not loving this for TLO. But let's see, there is a chance. Imagine if Elazer doesn't go into the main base. Imagine if he just works on that hatchery. That could actually work out for TLO, because then he could just let the hatch die and take the gold.
That is a very good point, and TLO is aware of the Lings moving across the map. He doesn't necessarily know if there is a gas geyser behind this just yet. So he sees the Lings. He doesn't know necessarily anything beyond the fact that there aren't really too many more Lings following this up, but hatchery is getting picked away at. It's like you said, and he's buying himself time.
Okay, now Elazer goes into the main base, and he's going to be like, wait a minute, why is that spawning pool so late, and why am I wasting my time on this hatchery? So he immediately runs into the main base, and this is where things get a little bit tricky for TLO. He's gonna have to pull these drones around for a little bit, because that is a few too many Zerglings to fight with just drones.
Is he gonna just transfer over to the gold?
No, he's gonna go back.
It.
I think he's gonna go back. He's just buying time for his Zerglings.
Okay.
I mean, come on, this is a tell. Now he's definitely revealing it.
Okay, well, TLO, he's gonna have lost a lot of mining time as well. He's not been mining for almost a solid 40 seconds at this point. So even if he does get out a few units, he only had 110 minerals. And look, he reveals the gold.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of shocked that he revealed it. Maybe the spawning pool time already revealed it, because obviously Elazer wasn't born last night. This isn't his first ZvZ. He realized that pool was way too late, and now it's actually kind of a disaster for TLO. It was already bad, but it only got truly bad when Elazer actually went in the main base. It was like, wait a minute, why don't you have a spawning pool, and why aren't you building Zerglings yet?
Man, this is just a little bit unfortunate here for TLO. As, okay, Elazer finally does get cleaned up in the main base, but now TLO has to deal with trying to defend this very forward, very off-center gold base. And he's doing an okay job so far, but it's a little later on I'm going to get worried.
I mean, he's down quite far economically. Obviously, the gold can somewhat overturn that, but he only has a couple of drones at this base. Now, the one advantage, and it's a pretty big advantage that TLO has, is that he already started Zergling speed. Elazer just now started mining gases. However, the ramp isn't that big on this map, so Elazer could potentially form a little bit of a wall, could use the queens as well. And then even if you have Zergling speed, will you actually be able to utilize that? And will you be able to break into this natural of Elazer? I have a hard time believing that TLO can do that, but it really seems like he's going to try though, because he's producing nothing but Zerglings here.
I was going to ask, what do you feel like the correct response here would be from Elazer, to just try and go for the roaches and go for the jugular, or sit back and play a macro game?
Elazer knows that he just did an insane amount of economic damage. All those drones, it's not necessarily about the amount of drones that he killed, even though I think he took down 4 or 5 drones, I believe, but it's the amount of mining time that TLO lost. TLO was basically not mining for a solid minute, and in this phase in the game, when all your drones are not mining, that is massive. Oh my goodness, TLO. I cannot...
Someone stop this man!
I mean, I think that Elazer is going to drone up a little bit, and he's going to be like, cool, as soon as I have +1 missile attacks on my roaches, I'm going to move out, and I'm going to fight. And I have no idea what the TLO is going to do against it. Gold bases are cool and all, but what's also very cool in ZvZ is roaches with +1 missile attacks.
It oftentimes can just be a numbers game, and so if TLO has enough time to make use of those gold bases, maybe something happens here. Looks like we do have Baneliness on the way, and +1 melee for TLO. So, okay, in some ways I do like... Oh, Nidus Swarm from Elazer. This is... Okay, I would normally say I really like this versus a player that's going to be going for a heavy Ling style, but in this situation, it gets kind of weird, right? Because you're only Nidusing half of their bases.
It's definitely very awkward. Now, Elazer is sending out a couple of units as well, so he's really selling this. He's like, no, I'm actually expanding. He's showing the drone here as well. Now, it's very important. If TLO would be able to morph a couple of Banelings...
These overlords, they see the drones transferring.
If he would be able to morph a couple of Banelings defensively, Banelings could potentially blow up that Nidus network immediately. Is TLO paying attention in his main base? He could perhaps see it almost immediately. So far, he's not reacting, though, and he's still not morphing any Banelings, and that is very bad news.
Even if he tried to react now, all of his Lings are on the right-hand side of the map, and there are a few roaches over there, but he's just trying to buy time. He's sending everything over there. He must just be abandoning his main base at this point.
He might lose the evolution chamber that's researching +1 as well, but I mean, this is just getting really awkward. That's a pretty decent surround, even though these roaches have +1 missile attacks, though.
No, not yet, right? I think
he canceled it?
He must have canceled it.
Wow, okay, that's... Wow.
That helps out a lot, because now those roaches take 3 attacks to kill those Lings instead of just 2. But the queens and the roaches are denying TLO from mining from both his main base and his natural expansion. He's still got the gold, amazingly enough, and hey, he's working on that. Nidus is going to get cleaned up there.
I still have a hard time believing. I mean, TLO just needs fantastic surrounds, and he needs to pick off roaches one by one. A straight-up fight is something that TLO could never win in this phase in the game, but maybe he can find a couple of roaches somewhere here, somewhere there. He's going to lose his main, he's going to lose his initial natural, and now he's left with 2 gold bases.
And, Roddy, there's no gas guys with either of these gold bases, so, +1 weapons will finish up for those Zerglings, but he can't even really make more Banelings because he's just not going to be mining gas.
Well, he has a little bit of gas in the bank, but obviously not that much. TLO is going to get his own roach.
That's where his gas is going to go, his lair.
that counterattack. That's obviously going to be very hard to break. That wall up with all those roaches here. What a weird way to start off this ZvZ best of 5. I like the way that Elazer has played it, though. I think almost everything makes sense, and it just feels that TLO is in a very desperate position. There isn't really a right play, but he's still not going to give up just yet and try to make a miracle pulse. I mean, this kind of stuff is risky, because imagine if you unload just a couple of units and then Banelings could connect with the Nidus network, you blow it up. I feel like that is TLO's only chance back in this game. If Elazer keeps all of his units together, I don't see any way.
Okay, Quinn loads and unloads, but he is going to be able to get out enough of them, transfuse that Nidus Worm, unloads the majority of these units. He is getting fully surrounded there, though. And even the Nidus Worm is going to end up falling. Like you said, not the best trade there for Elazer.
Elazer is still in a good position, though, because he's economically ahead, but he is going up against 2 gold bases, and he doesn't have that much mobility, because he didn't have roach speed yet. It's really funny, because Elazer could have just brought everything home, and then just move out with everything, and these roaches would have actually taken care of the Zerglings of TLO. His army was almost twice as big. In some way it still is, but that was risky, and I'm pretty sure Elazer suddenly is like, whoa, let's not do that again.
Yeah, but now if he finishes up +1/+1, these roaches are going to be unstoppable for those lings to try and deal with, because +1 carapace roaches versus lings, it just means they survive longer, and they're going to be two-shotting his opponent's lings.
Yeah, and obviously TLO will not have that much larva to work with, because he's only on those 2 hatches as well, and he really needs to catch up in the roach numbers. Like, Elazer made a small misstep there. He donated a couple of units. He really didn't kill that much, but it works out. TLO knows that he needs to buy time, and that's exactly what he's going to try to do with these Zerglings running around. This is also a little bit risky by Elazer, because these roaches can easily get picked off by all the units from TLO.
What's going to happen? That's exactly what's going to happen as these roaches end up losing their lives. It's kind of what you were saying before, where you can be ahead.
Hero's sick, though.
Oh, wow, yeah.
He didn't lose a single roach there. That was actually a great move in the end.
Okay. And now we end up seeing the lings trying to go for the wraparound. Elazer is starting to bleed out some of these roaches, but no, he's burrowing them. And TLO is having a hard time cleaning this stuff up. There's even an overseer over here.
Yeah, he's bringing his own overseer, but I'm afraid it's a little too late as the reinforcements arrive from Elazer as well. GG, Elazer takes game number 1 on Dreamcatcher, which was a pretty unique game.
I mean, Dr. Dario still lives up to Mr. Creativity in so many different ways in that game, going for the gold bases. And I feel like that plan was not necessarily as bad as it looked, because that was off the back of an early pool from Elazer, and if that is not an early pool, that game looks so different.
Yep. I would have loved to see how this game played out if Elazer would have just gone for a hatchery first and taking it slow and steady, but no, Elazer opened up with the 12 pool, and it was really fun to see him work on that hatchery, and he's like, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. Then he splits off 2 Zerglings in the main. He's like, whoa, wait a minute. You don't even have a spawning pool yet. And that's when he immediately went for the drones. And obviously, TLO was in a pretty rough spot from that point on. I think TLO made the best of it, but it seemed like he was just a little too far behind.
Yeah, it's always one of those kind of unfortunate things. You try something really creative. It's not like Elazer was saying, okay, I'm going for the early pool, because I'm predicting a 3-hatch before pool at the goal. No, Elazer's not thinking that at all. It just sort of happened to work out that way. So TLO hopefully can shrug off that last loss and move on to the next map, which is Acid Plant, and kind of figure out what his next game plan is going to be. It's kind of hard, though. There is that history that I know you were talking about before we were on the cast between these 2 players.
Yeah, they've played a lot against each other, which happens with most of the Zerg players in Europe. They tend to face each other a lot in some of these European qualifications for these big events at WCS stops or even tournaments like Home Story Cup. The last 7 times that these 2 played against each other, Elazer won all 7. But before that, TLO did pick a couple of series, so this is not one of those stats where he has never defeated him before.
It's pretty close to it, though, because if you think about it, or if you look at the stats, he is, I believe, 4-12 versus Elazer, and 2 of those victories are from 2015. So if you say 2016 onward, he's 2-12.
Yep. No, TLO, the last time he won was in February of 2017. After that, they had 6 long series, multiple best of 3s, even a couple of best of 5s in the mix as well. But those were never sweeps. It's not like Elazer is always 3-0ing, 2-0ing. No, a lot of back and forth series, a couple of 2-1 victories. But this Polish man definitely has the upper hand over his German Zerg. But this was just game number 1, Ravi, in this big match. We all know how pumped TLO is to finally be here again in the round of 16 of a WCS event. He has tried so hard, and it was really amazing to see Dario yesterday after he was able to squeeze past that round of 32. He was shining. It was really like you walk in the room and there was a TLO with a really big smile on his face, and he was as happy as a little boy could be. It was really awesome to see someone who worked so freaking hard for it is finally back on the stage where he feels he belongs.
All right, game number 2, Acid Plant. The players are loaded in, and we are ready to go. Spawning down here on the bottom right-hand corner of the map, it is our blue Zerg player from Team Clash. It's Elazer.
And on the left top side of Acid Plant, we're looking at the main base of our German Zerg representing Team Liquid. Make some noise for TLO. You know, Ravi, this match is obviously important for these guys, but it also determines which nation will be the most represented nation in the quarterfinals. Because we already have 2 German players qualified for the quarterfinals, and we also have 2 Polish players qualified for the quarterfinals. And now obviously we've got our last German versus Poland player in this round of 16, so who's gonna take home that title of most successful nation when it comes to this WCS Austin?
It's definitely going to come up next year at Nation Wars, I'm sure. We'll have to wait and see. You were talking about how also TLO was just so happy. I was standing back there, right after Mana had come off of his victory. So he was just on he was on cloud 9. He was so happy. Dario was sitting there practicing and saying, congrats and stuff. And then I started talking about like, okay, yeah, so if Snoot wins, it'll be Mana versus Snoot. And then if Dario just wins his bottom side of the bracket, we can guarantee a Team Liquid player in the grand finals. So like, okay,
wow.
Dario, you still got a ways to go, but you know what? I like that he's already dreaming about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's wishful thinking, right? Because you still have Elazer, and even if you would somehow get past Elazer, then you go up against the winner of Special versus Bly, which is going to be the next series here on the main stage. Our final series of the day. Of course, tomorrow we'll be back, guys. We're going to do all quarterfinals, both semifinals, and then the finals. So tomorrow is going to be a very long day. 6 best of 5s and a best of 7.
Some of the finest foreign StarCraft players in all the land. I mean, I'm not going to complain. All right, so far this game, we have pretty standard openings, just those Hatchcast pools. We got the, of course, Zergling speed coming on up. And you think about last game, TLO does something really, really out there, very risky in a lot of ways, doesn't pay off. Game number 2, looks like he's just going to play a little bit safer. But, that's the cool thing. As much as we always tout TLO about his creativity, he's also just good at standard play.
Yep. No, he absolutely is. But you know what's funny is that Elazer is a tiny bit of a question mark right now. I think when it comes to the European scene, we can absolutely not call him an up-and-coming player anymore. I mean, he's made it to the global finals.
Semifinals.
Yeah, he made it to the No, he never made it to the
semifinals
in the year before, right?
The year before, and this past year, he made it to round of 8, right?
Yep, he defeated Showtime 2 years ago in the quarterfinals, and last year he lost to Special. But he made it into the playoffs of the global finals 2 years in a row. And even at Leipzig, I mean, you think back of it and you're like, was he lazy even there? Well, of course he was there, but he didn't have the most spectacular run. In the end, he only lost against Neep, and obviously that is nothing to be ashamed of, but after that, we just haven't seen that much of Elazer. He was at a couple of events, but he wasn't able to make the same impression as he's done in the past. We know that he's been over in South Korea. He's been practicing really hard. He did not manage to qualify for the GSL. But it's just kind of funny because normally you see Elazer everywhere, and now that he's in Korea, it feels like he's a little more hidden.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, he's not really competing in quite as many of the tournaments you'd normally see him. And even in the kind of online scene, I think sometimes is a little bit harder to find, although he is there.
I mean, he played a couple of the tournaments all the way over from South Korea on European service and still made it, for instance, into the top 8 of WCS Europe Challenger. That just shows how freaking good Elazer is, because qualifying for WCS EU Challenger is already very tough, and he did it with like 200-something ping, so that truly shows how good Elazer is. But yeah, if you then lose out in the quarterfinals, it's not the same Elazer as we normally see always making top 4 at some of those European events.
Yeah, I think for a long period of time, Elazer was definitely considered one of the top 4 players. Ooh, nice ban link hit. Cleans up the majority of these links, although, hey, that one link for TLO gonna get okay, Scouty at least confirms the Evolution Chamber. He sees the Banley Nest and says, okay, you're not cutting too many corners there. While TLO, on the other hand, has his 3 bases up and is going up for that lair now.
Now, the only real difference between these two is obviously the fact that the lair is a little bit quicker for TLO, but it's also where Elazer expanded, right? Elazer took a little bit more of the forward base, closer to the bases of TLO, but TLO took the more traditional, rather defensive expand.
Yeah, you know, I've constantly thought if you're going to take a more forward expansion, you know, No Regret is a big advocate of taking forward expansion because he likes to get aggressive, and that usually plays to that sort of style. But every single time I see a ZvZ, I feel like it almost ends up playing out the opposite, so I don't even know what to call it anymore.
And sometimes it can be a bait as well, right? You put a little bit of fear into your opponent by taking this forward expand, your opponent starts making a lot of units, and suddenly it's like, whoa, I made all these units, you're not attacking me, so then I kind of have to attack you, and then what is supposed to be the forward aggressive hedge actually becomes your defender's advantage. So we keep a close eye on that production tab as we have a couple of exchanges here and there. One Bailing is going to try to take down two Bailing. Wow, that's a juicy connection. You've got two Zerglings in the mix there as well.
Yeah, not too bad. Small little skirmishes here and there. TLO not quite able to get into the main base of Elazer to see what exactly the big follow-up is going to be. And it is going to be that Spire right now.
Well, that's pretty fast, Spire. I mean, and this is kind of the spy that's tough to scout as well. You really need an Overlord scout. It's unlikely that a Zergling is just going to run into the back of the natural. I don't think that TLO is necessarily thinking about this, man. This really has felt like such a standard game where we are both supposed to make roaches. And, you know, we're both just supposed to play a strong economic game, and it's going to come down to the roach Ravager engagements with a couple of corrosive piles. But Elazer actually squeezing out a quick spy. Now, obviously, he cannot just not make any units because then he could potentially die. At the same time, he's going to buy time with these Zerglings on the other side of the map, potentially pick up a queen here. Yes, that one queen is going to fall. I like this Spire because it's just a very well hidden Spire at this point.
Yeah, he doesn't exactly have a lot of gas saved up.
He shouldn't take this fight. I don't think there's any need for Elazer to take this far away. Even though he's going quite fine. But I still don't think he has to fight off creep this far away from his bases. Especially not when you're the one who's investing in the Spire. Even though it does make it even more hidden.
Okay, well, Spire is getting close to finishing up. Elazer doesn't have a ton of gas banks, so he's not just going to be busting out 10, 15 mutas. And that's oftentimes not what the goal is. You're looking to get out maybe 7 or 8 mutas. You get some map control, you take out your opponent's Ravagers if they've made any, you just shut down map vision by taking out those Overlords.
Okay, I think TLO is about to scout it. There's something that's running into the natural, and it is indeed that Overseer that's very fast. So immediately TLO's response is that he trolls down, I love how he sends it back, and he's going to use Contaminate.
That's cute.
On +2 missile attacks is going to make it a little bit harder for Elazer to go for a frontal attack. I wonder if TLO is worried about, you know, a big amount of mutas. He probably sees those roaches. He's like, there's no way you can have that many mutas if your roach count is as high as it is. And TLO, while he was actually banking up some resources and investing in that Hydra den, he doesn't have enough roaches over here.
Well, he's starting to get out some more roaches from the third hatchery as well as the natural. So he might have the defender's advantage, but like you said, Elazer just has so many roaches here inside the third base. While the mutas are also coming on the way, this is not looking good for TLO at all.
Yep, TLO is going to lose quite a few drones here, and even if he eventually stabilizes, it's going to be very hard to turn this around from an economic point of view. I mean, his roach is still going strong. The mutas are doing work. GG. Elazer takes a 2-0 lead, and he made it look kind of easy.
What even happened there at the end where it looks like, you know, you're teching into mutas, you're oftentimes saving up some gas, and he didn't have that much saved up, but what happened?
I think what happened there in the end is that TLO spotted that Spire, and he's like, whoa, I need Hydralisk. So he threw down the Hydralisk then, and he was obviously saving up some resources, because the last thing you expect is a big roach attack from your opponent when you see that they have actually invested in the Spire. But despite the Spire, yes, Elazer made a couple of mutas, but above all, he just made an insane amount of roaches, and he did win that one roach skirmish on the right side where you said like, oh, this is going fine. It indeed was going fine, and TLO seemed a little indecisive. He lost a couple roaches, and in ZvZ that can snowball so fast.
Oh man, and now Elazer sits up in the series 2-0, one game away from moving on to that round of 8. And Dr. Dario has got to come up with some sort of response for this, some sort of answer to take not 1, not 2, but 3 of the following games. That's a lot of pressure to be in.
And it's rough as well, because it feels like we just started this series. You think of that first game, Dreamcatcher, you're like, that was really unfortunate. I went 2-hatch before pool against a 12-pool opening. Let's forget about it. And then this game, you feel like it's a relatively even game. You feel like you're absolutely not getting outplayed. You're holding your own in the Ling Bane phase of the game. You have a good grasp of what's going on. You spot the Spider a little bit too late. You're like, okay, I can still deal with it. And then bam, suddenly the game is over. You're like, oh my goodness, now we're down 0-2. And like you said, winning 3 games in a row against Elazer, who was truly a ZvZ specialist back then in 2016, 2017, when he was really on fire. He won a lot of these European qualifiers as well. Before Cyril started dominating everyone, it was mostly Elazer shining because his ZvZ was so freaking good.
Oh yeah, he used to have a huge rivalry with Nurchio. When Nurchio was at the top, and his gradual climb and rise to the power of Europe and to rise to the top was by beating players like Nurchio, by beating players like Snoot, and now he's here in game number 3, sitting up 2-0, looking for one more victory. He's going to be spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. We've already said his name, but once again, it is our Blue Zerg player from Team Clash, Elazer.
Of course, the only man to win a WCS tournament last year, that wasn't Neeb. He was victorious in Valencia back then, and a couple of other good runs, of course, as well. Over here on the right top side of the map, we're looking at the main base of our German Zerg, representing Team Liquid. Guys, make some noise for TLO.
16-bit. Also going to be one of those fun maps, especially in some stuff like ZvZ. If you can try and deny some of that Overlord scouting, you have that easy to take in-base natural expansion, but Elazer can opt for the low ground one and save that other one for later. Sometimes you see some fun mind games where it's like, did I take my third? Did I?
Yeah, this is a tricky map. I think it goes for most mirror matchups. It's just always hard when there's a real pocket expand that has all the minerals, all those geysers as well. You gotta keep a close eye on what's going on the other side of the map, and it can be very tricky, especially because the ramp into the main is just very tiny. It's very easy to defend. I wonder what TLO has. I do feel that this is the kind of map that TLO loves in general, because it definitely caters towards some different strategies. And I mean, we all know that TLO loves thinking outside of the box. He always has, you know, a creative way to tackle on some of those problems that different maps occur. So let's see what the plan is of our German Zerg. I feel that he's probably going to be a little more out there than Elazer is.
Yeah, and kind of the fun thing is with the Elazer going for that low ground expansion, yes, it does allow you to take that third base much more safely, but at the same time, there's also a little bit of a risk associated with it. The natural expansion is a little bit wider of an area, so if you want to try and wall something like that off, it does get a little bit complicated even with the Ava chambers and the Roach Horn. You need maybe a couple of queens and maybe even another building. So if TLO decides to just ramp up on speeding aggression, there is an opportunity there reactively.
It is a very long map though. I absolutely agree with what you said, but we also saw that could truly backfire. We saw that in Stefano versus Snoot, where Stefano made a bunch of Zerglings, Snoot had his queens in the right position, made a single defensive spine crawler, and evolution chambers aren't really all that expensive, so you can always throw a couple up, because if your opponent is down 12 to 15 workers because they made all those Zerglings, it really doesn't hurt that much to use a couple of drones to morph them into even chambers, and then suddenly you're like, hey, I'm economically ahead by like 10 workers, and that's a pretty damn big deal in ZvZ.
Yeah. So that spine crawler coming up there from Elazer and then be canceled. A pretty typical thing for a lot of Zerg players to do. If you're not 100% sure of what your opponent's doing, you kind of get the safety spine. Say, okay, the attack's not coming, cool, I'm fine. You cancel it, you go for that Bailey Nest, and you say, I'm all good in the hood. You can just go for that third base now.
So TLO does spot that there is an additional hatchery on the way for Elazer. This is obviously something that's easy to scout with the Overlords, but still very important that he spots this. Otherwise, you could go up against very weird builds, like a two-base Nidus play. We've seen something like that in the past. I know Bly is a fan of that build. That is a pretty fast lair, though, for Elazer. That's 3 minutes and 25 seconds. I definitely feel that's a little fast for ZvZ.
Ooh.
Oh, a couple Zerglings running into the main base, and they will spot this lair, so that's a massive scout for TLO.
Yeah, what is TLO's response going to be? He's going to end up losing these lings, of course, but now he has an opportunity to react and say, okay, what are you going to do with this lair? Are you just planning to get up faster Roach speed and maybe get up +1 weapons and go hit a big timing, or are you going for a Spire?
And look at TLO, he's taking all of his gases, so that,
okay.
I mean, it's very early, actually, because he just started his lair upgrade.
Do you think that he might be expecting the Spire then and just saying, well, if I just have more gas, I can kind of outproduce you on mutas maybe or something like that?
That could be, but I don't think the build of Elazer necessarily screams Spire. It's absolutely possible, but I almost feel that TLO took those gases a little bit too quick. Is he mining fully of all his gases in the natural that he took? So this is 3-3 and 3 and 2. I mean, that's a lot of gas.
Yeah, it's definitely going to hurt his mineral income for at least a little bit until he gets some more workers out. But, man, okay, that Bailey is not too terrible, but he definitely needs a few more units here to save that queen.
Well, that queen is going to get picked off. And this is a very nice little skirmish here for Elazer, who's up a couple workers. He does throw down the Spire. So maybe TLO did have to proper read here in the end if he throws down his own Spire immediately as well. I'm gonna see some good old Muta on Muta violence here.
He's got some gas banked up, and there's going to be that Spire, so he might have enough gas for one extra Muta, but of course, just investing in the Banelings also kind of messes with the sort of gas equation as well, so...
I have the feeling that TLO is perhaps underrating how many Zerglings Elazer is producing. I don't know what TLO has here, but he obviously lost a single queen already, and that hurts. It's really important that these links spot how many links Elazer actually has produced, and it's not a crazy amount, but it's enough that you truly need to respect it. So TLO is already morphing a couple of defensive Banelings, and I think that's the right call.
Okay, yeah, it's always a bit of a balancing act that you want to play here with the Baneling morphins, because every Baneling you morph in is less gas for Mutas, but you need to be able to stay alive against those links.
Often people say that Muta vs Muta wars are won by the Zerglings and the Banelings, because they can truly make a big difference. There isn't really much else. I mean, Elazer has a lot of additional links, though, and it's just a couple queens right now for TLO. I'm starting to get a little bit worried here for our German Zerg. Where are those Zerglings, TLO?
Oh, he needs them so badly. One Baneling almost goes its way over to the middle line, but says, no, I'm just going to use myself on some more of these links. TLO starting to make semblances of a haul, but now Elazer comes in with another flock of Zerglings and starts overpowering TLO.
TLO lost all of his queens. He's still economically ahead, quite far. He has a couple of additional Banes here. He's looking for that one big connection. It's sort of a hold. Yes, he did lose all the queens, and he's going to lose a couple of drones here, but it's not as bad as it could have been. He's still 7 workers up, and now it's time for some good old Muta vs Muta. Look at this. Elazer is going for attack, by the way. Did Elazer never scout the Spire of TLO?
He must not have scouted the Spire.
Oh, wow. He never even went into the main base.
Oh, okay. So for those who don't know, the Carapace upgrade is massively, substantially better in Muta versus Muta wars. And this is because the Muta attack will bounce off to other units, and that means that the armor upgrades get applied multiple times, whereas the attack upgrade doesn't quite get applied to those bounces the same way you'd expect.
Nope. So that's obviously an advantage that TLO will have eventually, but he's down right now in army supply, and that's important. The Mutas have been spotted. That's a lot of Muta. Is there a single Spore Crawler to perhaps fall back on? Otherwise, this could get very ugly. Not a single Spore, and don't forget that most of the Queens have been taken out. Look at Elazer. He's going to go straight for that pocket expand, and he's going to be able to do a lot of economic damage here.
And as of right now, it seems like he still has a superior number of Mutas. Now TLO comes in with some more reinforcements, might be able to overpower him for a little bit. Elazer having to back off, but he does 10 workers worth of damage, and that's pretty substantial.
Suddenly, the man who was down economically is up by 17 workers. That is pretty damn insane. When you're making the exact same unit, 17 workers is a world of difference. TLO, a couple of Banelings are going to try to run into that base on the south side there. The Mutas will snipe it. It's a good reaction time, but at the same time, the Mutas of Elazer are still finding openings as well.
The gas geyser is also huge because it's all about that gas income when you're trying to produce as many Mutas as possible. Now, the upgrades are going to be finishing for both these players soon. Not before the fight happens, though. Who has the lead? Flyer Tech upgrade is going to be finishing first here for Elazer, but he seems to be bleeding out quite a few of these Mutas.
Yeah, the defensive fight was obviously quite good there for TLO. TLO really needed this little victory here. I don't think that's necessarily enough. Now, these Lings are picking up another queen. I think that's the 6th queen or something that has gone down in this game.
5
the
queens.
5th.
Yeah, there's still a lot, though. Now we end up seeing, it was 9 Mutas lost for both sides, but can we actually take a look at the unit counting station really quickly to see how many Mutas exist on either side? We have TLO with 12 Mutas to 18 for Elazer, so Elazer still holding that Muta advantage, and if he's able to go for that Carapace upgrade now after this, as he is for his Mutas, he can catch up in those upgrades.
The problem is Elazer has all the map control in the world as well. Now TLO finally has his upgrade, and this is his moment. He's using the Zerglings below the Mutas as well. That can make a big difference, because they can actually soak up a couple of these bounces, but it seems like perhaps the Muta number of Elazer was, well, I think TLO might...
TLO, he's not doing too bad, but it seems like he's going to eventually lose out in the end, and once you lose the Muta war, you lose the game. GG, Elazer takes the series 3-0 and moves on to the quarterfinals.
A very, very strong performance by our WCS Valencia champion of 2017. I really think picking up all those queens there in that final game, that just really set him up excellently for that Muta war. Good use of the Zerglings and the Banelings as well. Elazer is showing us that all that practice over in South Korea is definitely paying off as he's advancing to the quarterfinals.
He's looking super solid. Any kind of questions have been quenched at this point, and Elazer going to feel really happy about that victory. But we're going to hear from the man himself over on the main stage with Smix.
Thank you very much, guys. Congratulations, Elazer. Another 3-0 in the books, the 5th one today. You just looked incredibly dominant and across all 3 of those maps. Did you expect it to be as straightforward as it turned out to be?
Yeah, I actually kind of expected it. I didn't think it would be 3-0. I thought, I might get surprised, but I actually, for example, the first map, yeah, I got a build order win, but I also expected the build because he played it versus Serral the day before. So, if he's gonna play the same stuff, I will always prepare for that. So, he kind of played into my preparation. So.
Well, 2018 overall has been a really consistent year for you. 3 top 8s already, Leipzig, WSG, and Austin here, and then of course the top 4 at Pyeongchang. So overall, how would you rate your condition coming into Austin? How's your confidence level?
Yeah, so I think the top 4 players right now are pretty much like Serral, Nip, Special, and actually me. That's what I think. So yeah, looking at the bracket, I thought the bracket might be quite insane for me because I thought it would be TLO into Special, into Nip, into Serral. That's what I thought. But right now Nip lost already. So I think if I beat Special, it might be a nice road to the final for me.
So are you saying that in that upcoming match that's coming up, it's going to be Bly and Special? Bly, you have a really sick record against. I think you've won so many times against him. And then Special, you just beat him yesterday in the group stage. So I know you said that you think it's going to be Special, but having just beaten him, are you feeling confident against him as well?
No, I think Bly has a chance to win, and hopefully he wins. But the games yesterday that I won 2-0 versus Special, I kind of felt like I was a bit lucky, obviously, and it was a best of 3, so it doesn't give me a big confidence booster. I know our match is probably a 50-50, but yeah.
Well, we see who you're playing as that match is the one that's coming up right after this. Congratulations again. We'll see how that goes tomorrow. Nathanius, back to you and the boys at the desk.
Thanks again, Smix and Elazer, keeping up his performance from last year, continue to make deep runs in these tournaments, handling everything that the very creative Dr. Dario threw his way.
Can't create your way out of skill, man. Elazer just kind of took everything that he did. That first game getting really weird with a double goal.
Really weird.
Nidus Worms it got a bit weird as it can with a TLO match, but Elazer has, he says he puts himself in that top 4. It's one of those comments where some people are like, but in this case, we're like, yeah, it's kind of fair. It's like, if he's not in the top 4, I guess 5, but he's not far off. So for him to be performing at this level and consistently getting these results is nice to see, because that has been one of the things that foreigners struggle with, right? Is consistency, which even in this tournament we're seeing, and not to get too far away, this has got to be post-tournament talk, but Neeb dropping in the round of 16, that is that consistency we're talking about.
Now we do have an updated bracket to show you as we have one final match remaining in the round of 16. Bly is going to go up against Special, and, well, let's face it, boys. Today was a rough day. A lot of very one-sided series, a lot of domination. No series going the distance, and most of them ending in just 3 games.
Or they all went the distance in a way.
Oh, wow.
They literally...
Look at that.
Fair enough.
They literally completed, but were not really as long as they could have been.
It's a tough crowd up here.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Good for you, Rapid. This last one, though, could get a bit weird, right? Like, yes. Bly is just funny. Like, he even actually kind of walked by the cast over there. We're like, Bly, you going to win? He's like, I'm going to duck the snoot. We'll see. We'll decide. And I was like, yeah, that is the answer Bly would give, of course. Yeah. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited for it.
I was talking to Special over there. I was like, hey, Special, how do you feel? And he's like, we'll see. I was like, do you think you can win? And he's like, So, I don't know.
These pro gamers and all their work.
I tell you,
what an awful answer.
the ability to articulate your chances at victory, I don't know. I think we need to get somebody like in control to convince them that they can, too, go the distance.
Well, to be fair, that was the biggest shame with Stefano losing, is he is the best interviewer and always has been. Like, you're going to get a funny, honest, good response out of that guy for any question.
Yep, so our next series here at the World Championship Series is going to be Bly versus Special, a Terran versus Zerg to end the night. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back after this break with our final match of the evening.
Dad,